We cover pro-Columbus. Tune in and join us. Disrespected media.
Hello and welcome to the Crewcible, a Columbus Crew / soccer related podcast from Disrespected Media. I'm Michael Arace, the host of this fine program from thedisrespected.com. Please check out my website. With me today, I believe for the fourth time, he's becoming the Phyllis Diller of this, well, never mind, that reference won't land. It's Morgan Hughes, the co-proprietor of the Supporter Supply Company in Franklinton, Ohio, Columbus. And that is from whence we record this particular episode. Morgan wanted to be on for a couple of reasons. One is he wanted to have more crucibles under his belt than the great Neil Sika.
Failing Neil Sika, yes.
The problem there is...
Alleged Neil Sika.
The problem there is alleged Neil Sika or failing Neil Sika, however you want to view it, actually draws viewers. And Morgan has his own...
I hate him even more.
Aces Radio, in case you haven't checked it out. Have a shower handy, and it's entertaining on a certain level for sure.
Yeah, like if you're out of Epicac and you really have ingested some poison and you need to throw up, Aces Radio might be for you.
A veritable vomitorium.
Yeah.
So Morgan, let's get right at it. The other reason that you wanted to be here, and I certainly wanted you to be on this show, is this NWSL business that's going on. Columbus's bid for an expansion franchise in professional women's soccer. We first broached this subject on this show on March 11th. And at that time, and that's posted at my YouTube page. Check it out if you're interested. At that time, we're like, what's going on here? This just popped up out of nowhere. And it feels like this thing's well down the road, like it's actually rounding the final turn, heading into the final furlongs of a push for the Haslam Sports Group, Nationwide Insurance, Pete and Chris Edwards. Of course, the Edwards family and the Haslam family, Haslam Sports Groups own the Crew, but they're involved and have the full and fulsome backing of Mayor Andrew J. Ginther.
Mm-hmm. Crew owners plus Nationwide.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Thanks for cleaning that up there. I appreciate it.
That's why they pay me $0.
So what do we want to talk about today? I think the rub is, Morgan, that this sticks in people's craw. We'll get more into that, but this proposed ownership group, or this ownership group that's trying to push this thing across the finish line, just the Haslams themselves, Dee and Jimmy, their net worth is somewhere between $10 and $15 billion.
Yeah.
And they're asking the city of Columbus for $25 million for their project, and the county, Franklin County, for another $25 million to make this the Columbus way, the famed public-private partnership. Mm-hmm. And Morgan, that's tough for a lot of people to swallow. And
I'm one of them. Yeah.
And we should also say, full disclosure, before I let you get rolling, because when you get rolling, that's a tough train to stop.
Thank you. I take that as a sign of respect. Thank you.
Oh, indeed it is. But your talents have been, you've taken your talents to this endeavor at the request of somebody.
Yeah.
Somebody has asked you to help. And of course, given your experience with being the spokesperson and the energy behind Save the Crew, that I assume is why you were tapped.
Yeah. It's safe to say that, here's what happened. A couple weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago, whenever it was, John Zadar and I, co-host of the Failing Aces Radio, do not go to our website. It does not exist. Go to the Disrespected.
Or go to supportersupply.co.
Yeah. So they reached out to the NWSL 2 CBUS, thing was kind of started by a local passionate fan of NWSL. She then kind of like coordinated this thing, this movement. A person from, I can't remember whether it was I don't remember where it was from, recognized that, put Andrew King, who is our counsel at Save the Crew, told him to get in touch with me, to get in touch with her. So that's how I got involved. I mean, like I'd been talking about it on Blue Sky and Reddit and everything else before that. But, you know, I'm just like a Columbus sports fan that wanted this to happen. And because of my background with Save the Crew, that's how I kind of got pulled in. And my whole thing was just kind of like spreading the word about going to the website and putting your info in, which is, you know, signing a petition, quote unquote. I had no contact with any sort of like, I don't know, monetary participants in this push or ownership group.
Well, why? This passionate fan has reasons why she wants the NWSL. There's plenty of people that would want NWSL.
Yeah.
Can you make
Because it rules.
Would you explain why you would like to see NWSL with the understanding that you're probably speaking for a lot of people in the soccer community here?
I love Columbus sports. I love soccer. I love women's sports. You know, all of those things are good and worthy, you know, pieces of a vibrant and successful community. The NWSL is the biggest, best, most important women's soccer league on earth. And frankly, it's insane that we don't have a team to begin with. The fact that we weren't one of, if not the first team or teams in the league it's insulting to me as a resident of Cowtown. So, you know, like that's where I'm coming at this from. We have this soccer infrastructure here already. We have the arena district. We have the new stadium. Really all, you know, at the time when I got, you know, kind of brought into the fold, I didn't know anything about this training facility, but, you know, most of it is here and most of it's ready to go. And if we want to be the kind of city that we are, you know, in our dreams going to be, supporting women's sports is on the list of things. It just has to get done. And frankly, it's important for me to say, like, from a personal perspective that, like, listen, if any city in America, in any normal time in American history, modern history, was offered a button that says, press this, you'll spend $25 million out of your capital budget, and you'll get a professional sports team, they would hire someone to stay in the office overnight to continue pushing that button furiously until it happened. However, we don't live in that kind of era. We live in a day in which the owners of the Crew were just given, you know, somewhere between $500 million and $1 billion for of taxpayer money.
$600 million.
Yeah, for their, you know, replacement for Cleveland Browns Stadium. That's horrid. That's a horrid investment of the people's money. And they moved the team out of Cleveland proper to do it. We live in that, you know, arena right now. We live in that era right now. So I understand why, where in a normal time, $25 million is nothing to get a pro sports team. Right now, it is uncouth.
So let's explain. It's $50 million.
50 million.
25 from the city, 25 from the county.
Yeah.
And the stated reason the money will go to, they've stated where the money will go to, and that is to a new training facility on the site of McCoy Park, which is right across 71 from Lou Berliner Park, the softball capital of America. And it would go to building what they'd say is one of the best women's soccer facilities in the country. And the money will also go to building a first-class locker room at the existing new Crew Stadium for the women themselves, which will match the Crew's locker room in terms of posh, I suppose you could put it.
Very
so that's what they said they're going to use the money for. They've also said that, well, I've seen this report out there. I can't vouch for it, but because you never know what people say anything these days. But the claim is that the ownership group is going to spend $400 to $450 million of their money to buy the expansion team. Now, that seems exorbitant to me. It seems crazy to me, but that's what they're floating, and I think that's
in an expansion fee.
That's the number that what they're going to spend total. I guess cool. Most of it would be expansion fee. Was that money to jump the line, Morgan?
Again, I don't know anything about the expansion process. It is definitely different than the last time this league expanded. Yeah, I wish we lived in an era, Mike, where sports teams, which are assets of the community in which they play, weren't the playthings of billionaires. I wish that almost more than anything, but they are. And listen, you can have one of two things. Like if you don't, I think the NWSL being in Columbus is a cool and good thing that 100 years from now, when all of these ownership class people are long gone and buried, or they've jettisoned to colonize Mars, either way, bye-bye. No one will remember how this team happened. They will remember that the team exists. So living in this era, where you are at the whim of billionaires to have a very cool and good thing. To me, that is something that is worthy of investing in. I wish we didn't live there. I wish we lived in a different era. When they built Ohio Stadium, they basically walked around with like a oil can, and they were like, "Come on, man, wouldn't this be sweet?" And people threw money in, and it was truly a community effort. But we don't live there. We live in an era in which the billionaires need $50 million, even though that is less than 0.5% of the total wealth of the Haslams, just Dee and Jimmy, not to speak of nationwide, the Edwards, the Johnsons. It's upsetting. I wish that we funded our schools and our homeless shelters and our fire stations and our, infrastructure.
So
instead, but we don't.
Yeah, I mean, to that point, I'll always
not that we don't fund it. You know what I mean?
I remember speaking to a woman named Myrna Dupler. She, at the time, she was a 90-something-year-old retired Columbus City school teacher. Her father, Howard Dwight Smith, was the architect of Ohio State, the master planner of Ohio State during the 20s, 30s. Built a number of things around here too, including City Hall, if I'm not mistaken. In any case, he built Ohio Stadium. Mm-hmm. And he built it, they said, "You're building it too big." And at that time it was, 60 or 80 or whatever it was. And it took a while, it took, years to fill up. But he built it big because he wanted it to be for the people. He was actually a Eugene Debs voter. And he sat with one of the Wright brothers at games. He grew up with the Wright brothers in Dayton. But one thing that his daughter said was he would have hated closing in the shoe because it was open for a reason, circulation, and he would have hated the point system and how much tickets cost and how they're out of reach for regular people now. And that's an interview I did about 15 years ago, and it's only worse now. Anyway, I don't want to get...
It sucks that sports are the playthings of billionaires. And by the way, Myrna Dupler lived a street over from me when I was growing up.
No kidding.
I know Dan Dupler, her son, and I was friends with her grandson, Jamie Dupler.
Fascinating interview.
Yeah, she's the best. She's really cool chick. She went to my church. I grew up with, her... her and her family.
Did you know that Howard Dwight Smith was her father?
Yeah. And they're also related to Beverly D'Angelo.
Yeah.
They're like related to everybody famous from Columbus.
Interesting.
Not Jerry Revish, so they didn't check all of my boxes, but they got close.
Well, let's continue here, Morgan. One of the things I think people are getting tired of, the rank and file, the proletariat, the hoi polloi, is this idea of the public-private partnership. Why do we have to give billionaires money? You went over that. One thing that there's someone we both subscribe to and follow, the Rooster, who's a local muckraking. DJ Burns is his name, and if you haven't seen his stuff, check him out on Blue Sky or Substack. But he's a gadfly of City Hall and the state capitol, and he's done more reporting on Wexner's ties to Epstein than anyone else in the city, among other things. He considers the Haslams to be, and Jimmy at least, to be in that Epstein class. He loves the idea of a national women's NWSL team being in Columbus.
Yeah.
He loathes the idea of giving a dime to Jimmy Haslam, given that went on at Pilot Flying J, the company he sold to Berkshire Hathaway.
Yeah.
Given his ask from the state for his dome and giving other things in his, he sees a lot of things detestable about Jimmy Haslam, and the exclamation point on it is after Jimmy got $600 million for the Brook Park dome from the state, $600 million in taxpayer money for his dome. It wasn't long after that he bought a $25 million mansion in North Palm Beach, Florida. So it's like, if he has money to buy a mansion around the corner from where this person used to live and around the corner for where that president lives, he certainly.
And that's just the Haslams. That doesn't have to speak of the Edwards, the Johnsons, or Nationwide Insurance, who probably pays Peyton Manning more than that a month for his absolutely horrifyingly annoying commercials.
Yeah, they have thumbnail and Hill don't exactly cast this in stone, but their net operating, their net profits are usually, the net is usually over $1 billion a year, so, or has been in recent years. So
yeah, well, okay, so let's take this back a step. Some things are worth investing in. Sports teams are frequently one of those things that you try to put into a spreadsheet and go, well, did the money invested in it equal the money, or did the money we got out of it equal the money we invested in it? Some variation of that argument. I would say that is a great argument to make, but I would argue that like there are times where sports teams are worth investing in, and I think this is one of them. And I certainly think $25 million, again, when you look at that from your personal perspective, it's a crap load of money, From like let's guarantee that we have like the most important women's sports team here in Columbus. It's honestly, to me, it's a worthy investment. I don't think any public money should be going straight out of the capital budget to this NWSL push for this new team. However, it's been reported in the Dispatch and other places that they might be talking about some variation of a 2% tax on tickets to anything inside of that stadium that will then be paid back in full plus interest. That tax will be used to pay back the $25 million to the city, and will then presumably that revenue source stay in place. It's untouchable by the Haslams and their ilk to fund important things like housing and homeless shelters and schools, what have you. To me, that's a worthy laying out of $25 million via a small tax that will then be paid back in full. To get the most important women's soccer team on earth, to me that makes sense. I wish that we lived in a world in which the billionaires who can afford to pay for these things, they wouldn't even bend over to pick up a wallet that had $25 million in it and they saw it on the sidewalk because it wouldn't be worth their time. I wish that they would pay for this thing in full. I wish that world was the world that we lived in. But unfortunately it isn't. Ohio is controlled by a vast coalition of conservatives that have no interest in making rich people pay for a thing. That's where we live. I hate it, but I think that if we want an NWSL team in this reality, this is something that has to happen.
I would also point out here, just to continue some devil's advocacy, that as the Roosters pointed out, McCoy Park, where they plan to build this women's training facility, they always call it a first-class training facility, is on one of the last large bits of green space in that section of the city. We're talking south of Franklinton, southwest Columbus. So,
yeah. My daughter plays soccer there. I know it extraordinarily well. It is right next to Berliner. So I would expect there to be some language in this bill that gets presented by council to say that, the kids' sports teams have access to this area, just like they
the old community sports park.
Yeah, well, that community. Listen. Nobody's more disappointed that didn't happen than me. But that was a state thing.
Yeah, that was a fairgrounds
beyond the control of HSG.
And we should point out too, and this is in my my March 28th, the weekly diss at thedisrespected.com. If you want to see a breakdown, part of what I have in there is the Kilbourne Sports Park, which after the collapse of the community park, which was part of Save the Crew and part of the plan to move forward, the Haslams did invest 10 of the $30 million that was used to build that soccer facility in the Northland area, and that's opening any day now. As a matter of fact, not a total loss. I haven't been up. Have you seen that place yet?
I have not. No.
All right. Well, given that Nora is going to be a first-class soccer player because her father was
her genetics.
Yeah, it's pure genetics.
She came from this. I mean, look at this guy. You're like, what, would that guy play professionally? No. And it's shocking.
I would only say that as the host of Aces Radio, you can't say that kind of stuff on other programs because you don't have the
people think I'm being serious.
You don't have the credibility.
I'm kidding. Nora's not going to be a pro soccer player, but she's going to have the ability to watch pro soccer players.
So it's all of this is part and parcel of what the Rooster calls Mayor Suburbs' plan to make Columbus the women's sports capital of the United States of America, or whatever's left of it. And of course, he's got an election to think about. A couple of years, not sure.
Good question. Yeah.
And I would think that Shannon Hardin, who presides over the city council, might be eyeing said election. And of course, it is Shannon Hardin who
I think that's the word on the street.
Who makes the agenda for the city council meetings, and it would be up to him to actually put it forth for discussion, whatever they're doing. Look in your crystal ball, Morgan. Plus, as an insider in all of this, lay out what you think is going to happen.
Well, I think there's a city council meeting on Monday. I would expect some discussion of it at that meeting. You know, just reading the tea leaves here, I would expect maybe even some local grassroots participants, such as myself, to be speaking. Listen, this reeks of Ginther basically putting council between a rock and a hard place, going, listen, we've made this commitment to be the capital of women's sports, or however he put it, Ignite Her campaign, and council not hearing anything about it until the gun was to their head. If that's true, I'm just speculating. If that's true, I salute Shannon Hardin for having the gall to say, whoa.
The gall's not the word.
The audacity,
the sack,
the strength. Yeah,
sack.
There's a reason I'm not a writer and you are.
Well,
yeah,
he could have said sack.
Yeah, he could have been strong-armed into this, like so many politicians are. Like it sounds like maybe Andy Ginther was. Instead, behind the scenes, it sounds like he's been willing to find a compromise, because if he said pound salt, is that pound sand? Pound salt. Get out of here. Kick rocks.
Yeah, pound sand.
Pound sand. What's pound salt?
I have no idea what you're talking about.
I just made that up. It sounds pretty great. You should write that. If he said kick rocks, then, the public would have pointed at council led by Hardin and say, this is the guy that killed women's sports in Columbus.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody wants to run for a higher office with that around their neck. So Shannon was put in a very impossible situation. And if he finds a way to get the NWSL to Columbus with the best possible outcome for Columbus taxpayers possible, that is an amount of money that is all but a loan that's going to be paid back in full and then some. I salute him. I applaud him. I hope that he's the match igniter for the first NWSL game in Columbus. He deserves it.
It's a match.
He would deserve it. Listen, I don't know. I'm just saying.
Match igniter.
Match igniter.
How about the notion that we're still giving $50 billion, 25 from the city to
millions
to billionaires, and that we being a stand-in for the people who go to crew games, that they're subsidizing in part a billionaire plan.
Yeah, no, that's awful.
It is awful. I mean,
shouldn't be like that.
You think crew fans are good with that?
That's the 2% question, Mike, isn't it?
Well, there's another calculation here, and that is as ticket prices have risen dramatically at the new Crew Stadium.
Yeah.
As they've built more club seating and taken away some seating for regular people, as even the Nordeck doesn't go untouched by the runaway inflation at the stadium. That 2% is not a significant amount of money for people that are actually shelling out thousands of dollars for season tickets.
If the question is, would you pay $1 a game for an NWSL team to come to Columbus? My answer would be, yes, I would. Yes, I would. And I think that would be the same answer for a majority of crew fans. Again, with the stipulation that I wish we didn't live in a world where that was necessary. Because, again, $50 million is less than 0.5% of just the Haslam's wealth. That is not to speak of the Edward Johnsons or Nationwide. I wish we lived in a world where they'd fund their own playthings. But again, if the question is, would you pay $1 a game to have an NWSL team in Columbus? I would say, yeah, 100%.
So what are we going to be hearing over the next few days from the powers that be, including the Haslam Sports Group?
I would guess that if there's some discussion at council on Monday, I would look for some sort of press release on Thursday. So we're recording this on Wednesday. Maybe there's going to be something coming out tomorrow. And that's just based on my experience with Save the Crew, with like the timelines. Once something goes into the dispatch and then there's a city council meeting within a week, that thing is probably going to be brought up at the next city council meeting, and then the press, what is it called? It's not a press release. It's like a press alert or something. Yeah. That usually goes out on like Thursday to give people time to get their schedules in order. But yeah, I would guess that there's going to be more news about it tomorrow, and then definitely on Monday. I would encourage everyone to follow Mike on all the social media outlets and to subscribe to The Disrespected, because, you know, when I find stuff out as an insider, the second insider only to Dom Tiberi, I go to Mike, okay? I go to Michael Arace, and he goes to you when you're a subscriber, and you're going to want to be there.
Yeah, I'd be lost without
subscribe.
I'd be lost without the champion.
Neil Sika isn't given this kind of information.
Yeah, but he gets numbers. I guess we've yammered that to death at this point, and we'll just go out. Let me ask you about what soccer-related, crew-related material were you kicking around on the Aces most recent episode of Aces Radio as Columbus's team heads to Atlanta Saturday after a 2-week international break to take on the Atlantas?
Yeah.
Or the Uniteds, or United FCs?
I've said to you before, Mike, that first of all, the rumors about Bezbatchenko coming back, I think that, personally, I think that's the biggest non-Cucho returning signing that this organization could possibly make.
Well, some would argue Wilfried Nancy, but I think
I wouldn't. I'd argue Bez.
I'm just saying that that was out there. I think it's been dismissed by this point, because I think it'd be. I know they're 0-3-2, but it'd be insane, and it wouldn't be their style to fire Henrik Rydström after 5 games. It'd be unjust as well.
It just, to me, it feels like there's a difference between boring and bad, and right now the Crew are boring. That doesn't mean they aren't bad and they won't be bad, but to me, just boring feels like something that can be tinkered with and figured out, especially with the talent on the roster that the Crew have. Between Rossi and Abu Ali and Arston and, the attacking prowess that this team has, it's, when I see boring, I think, if somebody who knows what they're doing, tinkers with this a little bit.
Well, I did record yesterday's press conference with the coach, as well as I haven't edited the Diego Rossi and Andres Herrera video yet, but the coach is up at my YouTube page. If you go to YouTube and search for The Disrespected and my name, Arace, you'll find my channel. You'll find the most recent Rydström press conference, which was yesterday morning. And the questions were put to him. I asked him, basically, how do you get Diego Rossi more involved with the offense? I also asked him, I said to him that fans don't really recognize what the team's doing right now. They don't understand what the team's doing right now, because no one can understand what the team's doing now looking at it. So what's going to change moving forward here? And he had answers to that question as well. And
did he reference Dynasty?
He did.
My God, I want this guy to be good so bad.
Yeah. He talked about JR having an alcohol problem. Oh. Kids, look that one up.
I'm too young to
know
what
he
that
referenced
means,
Dallas.
But
he referenced Dallas.
Dallas, not
which
Dynasty.
Dynasty was like
same universe,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah. First of all, I'm too young to know what that means, but I want him to be good so bad.
You're aging so fast.
I read at a 23-year-old level, is what I'm saying. No, this is.
So give me your Crew take from the Aces Radio. What did the lads come up with there?
I have said many times, and I said on the finest trash pocket available on all podcast outlets, that it's, since Save the Crew, I find it hard to get outraged about on the field stuff like I used to. To me, it's like fandom is less existential than it was before Save the Crew. Like there was I guess it was 2018 or something. It was 2018. I don't think we made the playoffs, or we went out early or something. I think we didn't make the playoffs. But Darby Schaff, we were sitting in Endeavor, and the Crew had been saved, and it was the last kick of the season. Maybe we got eliminated on decision day, whatever it was. We both kind of looked at each other and kind of shrugged, and we're like, well, team still exists. So like, it's hard for me to get fired up or outraged about on the field stuff. So I really reserve that for off the field stuff.
Okay, fair enough.
Yeah.
Well, again, you can check out Henrik Rydstrom's latest interview at my YouTube channel. Please visit thedisrespected.com. Subscribe if you will. I'm cheap. As far as the podcasts go, this one, The Crewcible and Cannonballs, which is a Columbus Blue Jackets related podcast, I'll be sitting down and recording with Jody Shelley tonight, as he'll be reporting from Raleigh, where the Blue Jackets play the Carolina Hurricanes, the team I hate the most probably in all of pro sports. Tomorrow night.
Again, didn't we just play them last night?
Yeah, it's a home and home, so I got them tomorrow night. So Crew hanging on by their fingernails there to the second wild card in the East. Anyway, new Cannonballs is due probably tonight or tomorrow morning. This one's out. Please like, subscribe, share, rate, and review. It helps.
What was the year that the Jackets won that playoff series against the Lightning?
2019. Yeah.
2019, the Crew were not good. We did not make the playoffs. So is it fair to say that the Crew and the Jackets cannot be good at the same time? And in fact, when one goes up, one must go down?
I don't think so. I mean, I like the idea or something of that kind of yin and yang, but I don't know if you can say that 5 games into the Crew season. We'll see when the schedule flips, which I don't like, in MLS next year. The 14-game sprint.
So I couldn't be more excited than I am for that. I love it. If there's a team that can figure out like how to be good for like 18 months, they could win 3 cups.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
You don't even have to be good for 2 solid years.
Well, we'll talk about that and more on future episodes of The Crucible. Thanks for joining us. For Morgan Hughes and the Supporter Supply Company, we're taping now. Check out supportersupply.co for all your supporter needs, except for athletic supporters. They have everything else pretty much. You found the sunglasses?
That was my nickname in high school, the athletic supporter.
You have a T-shirt you made that says that.
Yep. That's right, Mike.
So it's always a shame when a bit of Aces Radio visits the Crucible, but there it is. That's Morgan Hughes. I'm Michael Arace. Thanks for joining us, and we'll talk to you again next time.
Something Columbus is the name for passing through. Forgotten franchises, they tried to steal the Crew. Flyover country left the Jackets feeling